Here's mu again, the computing stack designed from the ground up to take ownership of and to be easy to exercise agency over. Most of mu is written in a language that looks like this. It's memory safe, but it's less expressive than C. Um, it's not very good for prototyping, so I've been exploring an environment for prototyping that's a little bit more high level. Right now it looks a lot like Lisp. You can do simple computations of the sort that you might expect. You can also drill down into those computations to check both that the computer is doing what you expect and that your thinking is internally consistent. The computations you perform can have side effects. So you can see that it drew a pixel there on the screen. However, uh, drawing on the screen is slow. And the reason it's slow is that managing the trace is computationally intensive. And this environment is pretty naive in how it manages the trace. The other thing that can happen is that you can run out of space in the trace. So let me try to draw a chessboard pattern of say 4 pixels by 4 pixel squares. And so you can see that it's drawing pixels, it's slow like we saw before. But it also runs out of space. So when there's no space left in the trace, you have to do one of three things. You find a smaller computation to test, or you allocate more space to the trace by modifying its mu implementation, or we can run it on within the environment but outside of the trace. So let me explain what I mean by that. We first define a function called main, which might seem familiar. It takes a screen and a keyboard. And let's increase the size of the chessboard. So I've defined a function called main, which shows up here. And now let's run it. And it takes over the whole screen. And this is still slow, but faster. This currently runs out of memory because the amount of space allocated to the environment is small. But the idea is that this will improve over time, but at the same time, once you have prototyped beyond a certain point, there are going to be limitations which prevent you from running at full speed in this environment. Instead, you bump down to mu.